Welcome back to another video here on Free Will Photos, and we are still in our 30-day challenge for ON1. Now, obviously, I have a different program open right now, but today what we're going to look at is moving from Lightroom Classic into ON1 and then back into Lightroom. Now, the photo that I have pulled up here is really just for reference, so this could represent any photo. I'm going to assume that you already know how to use Lightroom Classic, and this only works in Lightroom Classic. If you're using Lightroom for desktop, then it's not going to work. And if you're using the Lightroom suites, I think you understand the two between Classic and the other version, which used to be called Lightroom Mobile, but I digress. So what I'm going to do, because I'm not really overly concerned about the editing process, I want to show the workflow here. I'm just going to come up here and in the profile, I'm just going to click on adaptive color. Let Lightroom do its thing. It's going to give this a different color look, and that's perfectly fine once it gets done loading. So we'll wait for that. All right, there it is. And I think it's a little too strong, so let's just pull this down, because I think the reason you would want to go into ON1 is to stylize your images. So I don't want to do a whole lot of editing inside of Lightroom, but now just note that if you're going to do any sort of detail recovery, so highlights or shadows, you want to do that stuff before you send it over to ON1, and really just use ON1 as a stylizing platform, or potentially a platform to host other plugins so you get that Photoshop-esque type workflow. So now that I have this ready to go, what I'm going to do is just come to the image here in the center of the viewer, right click on it, and I can go ahead and edit in. And then you'll notice I have a lot of plugins for Photoshop, a lot of plugins installed on my computer, but the one that we care about the most is going to be ON1 Effects 25. Now you could send it to develop. This is going to launch the same thing. Now, I also want to make note that you need to have either ON1 Effects installed on your computer, or you have ON1 Photo Raw Max. All right. If you have the standard version of ON1, and you want to do this workflow, what you'll have to do instead is come down to export, and then you can come over to, I guess I don't have it set up in here to go to ON1, but what you can do is export your image using export settings and then open the ON1 application. But that is one way of doing it. So what I'm showing right now is for the ON1 Photo Raw Max users, or those who have purchased or downloaded at some point ON1 Effects, any version 2025 or earlier. So I'm just going to go ahead and click ON1 Effects 25. I'm greeted with a window here. And inside of this window, I get the option to, first, we'll start at the top because that makes sense. Edit a copy with Lightroom adjustments. I think that that's the only one that you'll ever want to use, but you know, depending on what's happening with your photo, you may have some of these other options available. I always recommend edit a copy with Lightroom adjustments because that just makes the most sense. Then you get to choose what type of file goes into ON1. You can do a Photoshop document, a JPEG, or a TIFF. Now, I won't tell you which one is the best because I think it depends on what you're trying to do ultimately. I personally like to send things over to ON1 as a TIFF because that tends to give me just the right amount of information necessary to edit the image. And then based off of what color space you want to work in, you'll select that. If you plan to ever print the image, I recommend sending it in ProPhoto RGB. But that's if you're like printing something very detailed, all right? And I think you'll know if you're going to do that. Or if you're going to do a lot of color work, send it over in ProPhoto RGB. That's going to give you the best solution. But for 99% of the people that are watching this video and wanting to do this workflow, you're going to be perfectly fine with Adobe RGB 1998. That's going to give you a lot of color space to work with, so you can push and pull your colors out of this raw image. Then what you'll do is choose your bit depth. Always recommend going with the highest that your computer can handle. 16 bits is pretty standard when you're working with a TIFF file. I don't know of any reason that you'll send a 8-bit TIFF file, but if you know a reason, let me know in the comment section below. Resolution, you can leave it 300. That's not a problem. And then I don't put any compression on the TIFF file when I'm sending it over to ON1 because I want as much information as I can have to edit the file. If you're finding value in this video, go ahead and smash that like button. Consider subscribing if you want to see more content centered around ON1 Photo Raw and other editing software. Now let's get back into the edit. So once you have everything ready to go, smash the edit button, and then Lightroom is going to open up ON1 for us. It's going to create that TIFF file first, and then it's going to open up ON1, so that way we can continue working inside of ON1 Photo Raw. So once this gets loaded, we'll come back to the video. All right, so I now have ON1 Photo Raw loaded up and we are ready to edit. Now, for the sake of time, and because this isn't really an editing tutorial, I'm just going to come up here to AI Style Advisor, which I recommend everyone tries out at some point just to see what ON1 is going to recommend. And I like to use the ON1 team. I like the My Style, but for some reason, I feel like I get more of a variety with the ON1 team because they edit in different ways than what I would do. So you just hover over these, and I'm trying to find something that's very drastic. This one is actually pushing the greens even harder. So I kind of like what's going on here. I'll click that, and you can work inside of ON1 as you would normally. Now, if you are using ON1 Photo Raw, again, the max version 2025, or if you have exported your image and then you've opened it up inside of ON1 2025 or 2024, whichever version you have, then you can also work on sending images as a file for a plugin. So what you can do is come up to Layer and then Filters, and then you can again send it out to a different program if you so choose. Now, I personally am not going to do that today, but that's one of the benefits of having Lightroom, especially if you have one of the plans where Photoshop is not included. You can use ON1 Photo Raw, but you do have to have a standalone version of ON1. So either ON1 Photo Raw 2025 Max or ON1 Photo Raw 2025 Standard in order to use those plugin tools that I just showed you. But once you do, then you can essentially just use this as your layer-based editor to edit an image. So once I'm done, which I like what I have here, I'm just going to go ahead and hit the blue check mark. This is going to save the image onto that TIFF file that was created by Lightroom. And you can see it now has come back into Lightroom, and I have complete control to continue editing if I wanted to. I don't think I would, but if I wanted to, I could do that. And then of course, if I come over to the library, I still have that image over here in the library, and then I can do all the metadata things that I would want to do in order to catalog and move forward from there. If you found value in the video, smash the like button because YouTube just loves knowing that people are finding enjoyment in the content. If you have questions, leave it in the comment section below. And if you want to pick up ON1 Photo Raw or anything over at the ON1 store, consider using the affiliate link in the description box below. At no extra cost to you, I make a small commission from everyone who uses it, and I'm greatly appreciative. It's a great way of supporting the channel. So until next time, I want you to stay inspired and keep creating. Peace.